Imagine driving through Southern California in the 1940s. Endless highways, neon signs lighting up the night, families traveling from city to city, and on almost every corner, a drive-in restaurant filled with teenagers on roller skates serving burgers, hot dogs, and milkshakes. America was changing. Cars were becoming a symbol of freedom, suburbs were growing, and eating out was no longer a luxury. It was becoming part of everyday life. Among all those restaurants was one that looked no different from the rest. It belonged to two brothers, Richard and Maurice McDonald, in the city of San Bernardino. They weren't famous, they weren't wealthy, and they certainly weren't dreaming about building a global empire. Like thousands of small business owners across America, they simply wanted to make a good living. Their restaurant opened in 1940 as a traditional drive-in. Customers parked their cars, waited for waitresses to take their orders, and often spent 20 or 30 minutes waiting for their food. At first, business was good. America was booming after the war, and people loved the convenience of grabbing a meal without leaving their cars. But after several years, the brothers noticed something that would change their lives forever. Most customers weren't ordering the dozens of items on the menu. Almost everyone came for exactly the same thing: hamburgers, fries, and soft drinks. The rest of the menu was slowing everything down. Instead of asking how they could sell more food, Richard and Maurice asked a much more important question. What if we made fewer things, but made them faster than anyone else? It sounds obvious today, but at the time it was a revolutionary idea. In 1948, they made a decision that shocked everyone around them. They closed the restaurant completely. Friends thought they had gone bankrupt. Competitors assumed they had failed. Customers wondered if they would ever reopen. But behind the closed doors, something extraordinary was happening. The brothers weren't remodeling the restaurant, they were reinventing it. They studied every movement involved in making a hamburger, every unnecessary step, every second wasted. Legend says they even drew the layout of their kitchen on a tennis court using chalk and had employees walk around pretending to cook burgers until they found the fastest possible arrangement. It sounds almost ridiculous, but it worked. When the restaurant reopened, everything had changed. The long menu had disappeared. The waitresses were gone. Customers now walked to a counter instead of waiting in their cars. The menu had been reduced to only a handful of items, allowing every employee to become incredibly efficient at a single task. One person grilled meat, another toasted buns, someone else added onions, ketchup, and pickles, another wrapped the burger. Instead of chaos, there was precision. Instead of delays, there was speed. A hamburger that once took many minutes could now be prepared in seconds. The brothers called it the Speedee Service System. The world would eventually call it fast food. Customers couldn't believe what they were seeing. Food arrived almost instantly, prices were lower than competitors, and every burger tasted exactly the same as the last one. Business exploded. Lines formed outside the restaurant every day. People traveled from other cities just to experience this strange new way of buying food. Without realizing it, Richard and Maurice McDonald had created a business model that would influence restaurants for generations. But despite their incredible success, they had one limitation. They were happy where they were. They didn't dream about opening hundreds of restaurants. They didn't imagine international expansion. For them, one successful restaurant was enough. If the story had ended there, McDonald's would probably be remembered as an interesting local business, nothing more. Fortunately for the company, but perhaps not for the brothers themselves, another man was about to enter the story. His name was Ray Kroc. At first glance, Ray Kroc didn't look like someone destined to build one of the largest corporations in history. He was already in his 50s. He wasn't rich. He had spent years trying different careers, selling everything from paper cups to piano performances, before eventually becoming a salesman for milkshake mixers. Most people would have considered him an ordinary businessman nearing the end of his career. Then one day he noticed something unusual. A small restaurant in California had ordered 8 of his milkshake machines. 8. Most restaurants only needed 1. Curious, Kroc decided to visit the place himself. The moment he arrived, he knew he was looking at something special. Customers came one after another. Employees moved like parts inside a perfectly synchronized machine. Nobody wasted time. Nobody stood around waiting. Everything happened with astonishing speed. For many people, it was simply a busy restaurant. For Ray Kroc, it was something entirely different. He wasn't looking at burgers. He was looking at a system, and systems can be copied. Driving home that day, one thought refused to leave his mind. If this restaurant works so well here, why isn't there one in every city in America? The brothers had invented the machine. Ray Kroc saw how to multiply it. After months of discussions, he convinced Richard and Maurice to allow him to franchise the business. His mission was simple: build the same restaurant again, and again, and again. Every McDonald's would look almost identical. The same menu, the same kitchen, the same cooking process, the same customer experience. No matter where someone visited a McDonald's, they would know exactly what to expect. That consistency became one of the company's greatest strengths. As more restaurants opened, the golden arches began appearing across the United States. Families trusted the brand because every location felt familiar. Travelers knew exactly what meal they would get. Parents knew what their children would ask for. The restaurant wasn't selling surprises, it was selling certainty. Yet Ray Kroc wasn't satisfied. He believed McDonald's could become far bigger than anyone imagined. Over time, disagreements between Kroc and the McDonald brothers became impossible to ignore. The founders wanted careful growth. Kroc wanted relentless expansion. Eventually, in 1961, Ray Kroc bought the rights to the company for $2.7 million. It was the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. From that moment onward, McDonald's transformed from an innovative restaurant into an unstoppable corporation. But perhaps the smartest decision Ray Kroc ever made had almost nothing to do with hamburgers. Most people think McDonald's became rich by selling Big Macs and fries. In reality, that's only part of the story. Kroc realized that the most valuable asset wasn't the food, it was the land beneath the restaurants. Instead of allowing franchise owners to purchase whatever property they wanted, the company increasingly bought or controlled the land itself. Franchisees would then pay rent to McDonald's. Suddenly, the business wasn't just earning money from burgers, it was earning money from real estate. That strategy gave McDonald's financial stability unlike almost any other restaurant chain. As decades passed, the company expanded beyond America: Canada, Europe, Asia, South America, the Middle East, Australia. One country after another welcomed the famous Golden Arches. Of course, every new market presented challenges. Menus had to adapt to local cultures. In India, where many people do not eat beef, McDonald's introduced chicken and vegetarian burgers. In Japan, limited edition products became incredibly popular. Across Europe, menus evolved to match local tastes while keeping the brand instantly recognizable. No matter where you were in the world, you could still recognize those giant yellow arches from a distance. They became one of the most recognizable symbols on Earth. Today, McDonald's operates tens of thousands of restaurants across more than 100 countries and serves tens of millions of customers every single day. Its logo is recognized by people who don't even speak the same language. Its business model has been studied in universities. Its marketing campaigns have shaped generations, and its influence reaches far beyond food. The remarkable thing is that none of this happened because Richard and Maurice McDonald dreamed of building a global empire. They simply wanted to make hamburgers faster. Sometimes history changes because someone invents something completely new. Other times, history changes because someone takes an ordinary idea and executes it better than anyone else. The McDonald brothers created the system. Ray Kroc saw its unlimited potential. Together, although not always willingly, they changed the restaurant industry forever. The next time you see those golden arches beside a highway or in the middle of a busy city, remember that they represent far more than burgers and fries. They represent one simple idea that transformed a small California restaurant into one of the biggest business empires the world has ever seen. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next one. Until next time, behind every fortune, there's a story.